I'm up live here, folks. So sorry, we're jibber jabbering, and I'm trying to get things turned on, and not paying attention to the task at hand. We'll be live here in a second. Okay, let me go back to that. I did this, but I didn't do this. All right, I think we're online now. Okay. Yeah, I thought this was the culprit. It's not.
Yes.
It's not. It wasn't.
I mean, obviously, you're holding it in your hand.
Yeah, because and I can hear you because I put a different device in, but we'll find out at the end if all this worked. I don't think it did. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochran, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Todd. I'm hanging in there. Lots of interesting things going on in the podcasting space,
Yeah.
As the consolidation continues.
Yeah.
The theme song of this episode.
We gave the audience a little bit of a we were talking about some tech stuff I've got going on here. And I've been trying to make it so that when I do the recording, Rob is in the right channel and Todd's in the left channel. But whenever I pan, Todd ends up in the right channel and Rob ends up in the left channel. There's an overlap somewhere. But I've got a pretty complex setup here, so I don't know. I'll get it. And I might have got a plug that's a stereo. Who knows,
There's a metaphor in there somewhere. Your wires are crossed.
There is, but what's amazing is, and I'm thinking, okay, is that causing an artifact in the recording?
Right.
And I'm going back and listening to recordings, and I can't find an artifact because it's just really low, and it's in sync, so it's really not hurting, but something.
That's weird too.
Oh,
it's low.
Yeah.
Usually those things are, booming in there.
Yes.
Low.
So what should happen is when I pan you right and I pan me left, when I stop speaking on the left, it should be flatline.
Right.
There should be nothing there, but there's not.
Turned it off.
There's a little. Well, you, which have been panned right, you're still there.
Oh boy.
Therein lies the what the heck is going on.
How did he get there? That sounds rather.
Yeah.
Superstitious or whatever the word is.
It's not. I think it's the mixer. I think the mixer
of me and your mixer.
I think it's purely the mixer, and I'm not replacing that. I got to find a different solution. But anyways, welcome everyone.
That's like a 12 channel, isn't it for you?
Yeah. I've got it's a 16.
It's a 16, and even bigger.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a 16, but I've got other rooms wired into it too. So anyway, hey, this is what happens. We are professional podcasters.
Yes, we are. We have the struggles like anybody else does.
That's right. And if Rob's too quiet today on the stream, let me know, because I replaced a piece of cable or a connector with another device, thinking that was the problem. And the levels will probably not be exact, but it is what it is. So, yes, consolidation. Oh, my goodness. $800 or $900 million spent thus far. But if you don't think Spotify isn't serious about the podcasting space, holy crap.
Yeah. Serious about making money from the podcasting space.
That
might be the key takeaway there.
And the question I really have, and the thing I got to think about, with the money they're spending, do they realize that how many billions of ad sales they have to sell to make their money back? And how many shows they're going to have to monetize to get their money back? And considering, I'm just, hey, it's their money.
Well, especially Todd, because we've recently learned that it's not a cost savings thing typically
right.
going on here either. It's increased listening. Not so much people are replacing music listening with podcasts.
Right.
So that came out as some stats, I don't know, about a month ago or so, that they're not seeing a reduction in music listening because of podcasts. So that means that they're getting more listening hours, but that's not an additional cost savings for them. So guess what? That puts a lot more focus, I would think, on the advertising side and subscription side, right?
Yeah.
Which I
So,
think there's a
but
little
my
bit of element to that too.
but my point was, and I'm just looking this from just kind of a perspective of being in the space for a little while.
Right.
And again, maybe they're making the moves that are going to kill us all. Maybe I'll be on the unemployment line in 3 years. Who knows? But if let's just look at the body. Let's just get your calculator ready, Rob.
Okay.
Okay, so there's 400,000 active shows. According to Podcast Index, there's actually and let me go over there today so I can actually get the right number. Podcastindex.org. Let me go over there. And today there are 355,000 podcasts that have created a new episode in the last 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's come to a number. How many of those shows do you think will never want to monetize?
Probably 90%.
So, okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of that. Let's say 80.
80%. Okay.
So give me 80% of 355. 355K.
Okay.
What's that leave me with?
In how many shows?
Yeah. What's that? You take the 80% away.
That's about 70,000.
Yeah. Okay. So you mean 20% left of that? Doesn't seem right. It seems okay.
It doesn't.
355, 20%. Oh, maybe. So again, high school math going on here. So if it's 70,000 shows,
mm-hmm.
and they have, I read in their press release that something like Megaphone had how many? They actually had a number of shows. Correct.
Yeah, the number of shows that Megaphone. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
How many shows are hosted on Megaphone? It's about 550,000. Or no, 5,500.
5,500. Okay, so
podcasts are actually hosted on Megaphone.
And they said 50% of those were not monetizing.
Only 40% are opting in to sell ads.
Okay, so let's take you down. Let's just say 2,500. Mm-hmm. And you figured there's 70,000 total shows in the podcast. We figured 70,000 total shows in the podcasting space that maybe would want to monetize of the 355,000. Somehow that number still seems high. But anyway,
active shows. Right.
You have active shows. I don't see how they get there. And let's say they come up with a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they say free hosting. You get to monetize right off the bat. Do the anchor model.
Mm-hmm.
I still. What are they going to get? Another 5,000 shows, maybe move over there? 10,000?
They're going to lose some shows, no question about
it. Well, I'm going to say, let's say they say, hey, we can monetize you on our ad platform. We can do programmatic ad insertion. We've got money for you.
They're going to move people over to the Spotify streaming platform for monetization on Spotify.
But they also are going to have now this availability to monetize everywhere else because Megaphone is not locked.
Correct.
Yeah, so they're going to be able to monetize the other way too. So here's just my point is, and really we tried to do some fancy math work here. They're going to have to sell one hell of a lot of advertising
at a pretty high CPM too, right?
And after split, so they're gonna have to give these podcasters something for that. And it's probably if it's 50-50 I think they'll be considered lucky.
I think 60-40 is most likely.
60 to Spotify, 40% to the podcaster.
Correct. Correct. That's probably more likely.
So they're going to have to sell an absolute metric ton. So they're hedging then that. So they spent 300 million, which, in the scheme of things, probably not a lot of money for Megaphone.
235 million.
235. So, yeah, you can probably make that much money in 5 years on advertising on those shows. So I don't know. It's an they're definitely have a long time. They have to have a long term play here.
Oh yeah.
Because if 80% of podcasters aren't, and I would actually contend that more than 20% of podcasts want to monetize, but maybe not.
Well, especially of the shows on Megaphone, 40% of the shows on Megaphone, so it's a higher percentage
right.
of the shows that are on Megaphone that want to monetize.
So,
and most of those shows that are on Megaphones are on larger brands, that larger media brands is typically who is hosting their podcast through the Megaphone platform. So what Spotify got with this was a lot of the bigger media brands
that are not signed to Megaphone. Megaphone doesn't own that tech. Doesn't own that. No, doesn't. They own the tech. They don't own the shows.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm just they're. Hey, I'm glad people are getting paid. But I just and they definitely want to be a player, and they're being a player. But I really question then. My thinking is they want to attract every podcast that wants to monetize to either be there or on Spotify.
Yeah.
I mean, not on Spotify and Anchor.
Yeah, I mean, whenever a deal like this happens in the space, and there's not a lot of these kind of deals that can happen, there is a domino effect, because there is a lot of people in the industry that work with each other on various platforms. And an example, and James Crithen pulled this out in his post, talking about iHeartRadio. So there is a domino effect for iHeartRadio, because guess where iHeartRadio hosts most of their podcasts?
On Megaphone, but not for long.
On Megaphone, right? So at least on the monetization side too. Now, granted, guess what iHeart just did? They bought VoxNest, right?
That's right.
And so now iHeart has a hosting platform. I would think that this is probably pretty good news for VoxNest.
I would think so too.
Yeah, because
500 shows from iHeart will be coming under the VoxNest platform, and they'll all be monetized under VoxNest.
Right.
Yeah.
But the difference with VoxNest, though, this could create a little bit of a scramble. So VoxNest isn't really architected to really be state of the art in the area of host read advertising, which I believe Megaphone was working a little bit more aggressively with. So that would be one scramble that's going on over there right now. Is that VoxNest was positioned really to go after more of the programmatic side.
But I guess my whole point, I thought they were crazy what they spent for Anchor. And again, those guys made out like bandits. They all got paid.
Right.
So time will tell on this. I also wonder, and again, this is wishful thinking because I'm a podcast host founder. I just wonder how many of these folks, and maybe we need to start taking a heartbeat of the podcasting space. What do podcasters think about being on these mega platforms now? What do they think? Mm-hmm. Because now, if you really think about the epitome, or not the epitome, but the genesis of this space, the genesis of this space was anti-corporate. Right. So maybe that's long. Maybe that's just proof that's long gone. No one cares about that anymore.
Well, I think that the Megaphone platform is definitely positioned more from a corporate solution positioning. So this is definitely follows that that alignment of larger companies getting involved in the podcasting spaces. And I think what's an interesting thing to think about in this deal is what it means for Anchor.
Oh,
You know, I mean, if you contrast Anchor and its positioning in the
right.
market versus Megaphone, those are opposite ends of the market, right? Anchor is free. It's almost like it's almost like a Fisher Price toy.
You said it,
It's
not me.
I know, but it's not necessarily an entirely appropriate analogy, but it's one of those things that it's a way for people to get started, right? It's a easy tool to bring in new people, but it's also created a lot of shows, right? But a lot of them aren't creating high end content. Like I wouldn't see the New York Times using Anchor to host their shows, right? I would see New York Times using Megaphone to host their shows, though. So you can kind of see, maybe if you think about it in that context, why Spotify felt the need to buy Megaphone.
Well, then if that's the case, then they're missing a middle tier that I still have, that I'm still in play.
Which is where Lipson and you are. We
Right.
cater to both ends of the spectrum.
That's
right.
right. And the majority of our business is down the middle.
Right. Which is serious to semi-serious podcasters.
And a whole boatload of indies that just want to podcast and not necessarily worried about making money.
Yeah, it's a hobby, or it's something that they're doing to support another brand, and they're not making direct revenue from it. So, I mean, that's where. So, if you think about it from that perspective, you can see the entire spectrum, right, of the ecosystem, and this deal doesn't blow that ecosystem out of the water at all. I mean, I don't feel as a company threatened by this Megaphone deal with Spotify.
Well, I'll just say, based on phone calls in the last 24 hours, I'm not threatened at all.
Right.
Because my phone has blown up, and there are networks of 10, 20, 25 shows that are going to move. Yeah. So, and again, I haven't asked the question, why are you moving?
Why are they moving?
Well,
That's the question.
I'm winning the business first. Maybe you're competing for it too, but I'm going to try to win the business first and get them moved as quickly as we can. While the emotions are strong.
Right. I think it gets back to the culture of the medium. I think a lot of reasons that would be the concern of a lot of podcasters, even the larger ones, is is there a control issue? Is there, as you look to the future, what side of this industry do you want to promote? Do you want to promote, the expansion of proprietary platforms, or do you want to promote the open expansion of the medium? And I think that there's a case to be made on both sides of that argument, but it depends on what your argument is and how you want to position your company going forward and how much control you want to have. I'm not necessarily saying that Spotify is going to come in and try and control these shows. I think they're going to, face market forces like they would normally. But maybe there's something more attractive that Spotify can offer them with this streaming ad insertion technology that they keep talking about.
Well, I think they bought Megaphone hedging that they're going to be able to steal piles of customers from other hosting platforms.
Yeah.
So, that's my, but again, okay, how many, here's the ironic part. You and I run businesses where we charge our customers a flat rate for hosting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have commercial customers, obviously, and so do you guys, that are on pay by the gig plans.
Mm-hmm.
And, but any podcaster, you've got a bunch of them, I've got a bunch of them that, 10% of my flat rate podcasters use 90% of my bandwidth.
Right.
So, if a few of those who are paying me $12, $20, $40 a month decide to go to Megaphone, I've just increased the bottom line by about $1,000 a month. Because that $40 client was costing me $1,000 in bandwidth.
Right.
So and I don't want them to go. Honesty, we want to be able to serve them and give them ads and stuff too. So, but many of those shows, from my perspective, is I kind of lose them anyway. Once they get to this 10, 20, 30, 40,000 downloads per episode level, then they don't need Todd bringing ad deals anymore. They don't need the Robin team bringing ads no more. They're doing their own ad deals, making their own connections and keeping 100% of the advertising, and I get zero. But yet they're still costing me $1,000 a month. So
bandwidth costs.
Yeah. Right. And so from that perspective, when they get to a certain level from a business, standpoint.
Well, and that's where, this deal with Megaphone really kind of, from what I gather, Megaphone has not been a profitable platform. They've been obviously been able to pay their bills and stuff, but there's a dynamic going on there, just like what you were talking about, Todd, that there is costs that are associated with larger shows. This network hosts mostly large shows, right?
So but they're paying, right? They're not over there for free. Those big networks are
going to be a question. Well, Todd, that's a question that's going to be answered by Spotify. What's their history? They offer free hosting, right?
Right. So, but Megaphone is charging commercial. They don't give. You can't go over there and host for free, by any means.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess that we'll see what happens. But how could Megaphone have not been profitable? It's pretty hard not to make money if you're doing advertising in this space. My God, if you're taking 50% of the ad revenue, how can you not be making money?
Well, there can be a lot of factors in that, right? That can go into that. Maybe they weren't selling all the inventory that they had, and they weren't fully covering their bandwidth costs and their staffing costs and all of the things that we've talked about on the show for many years. That costs money to run a platform like what we're running, especially at small scale. 5,500 shows is in our world, Todd. That's pretty small scale. Now, granted, each of those shows maybe are big.
Now, if they're 5,500 commercial shows, for me,
those are going to use a lot of bandwidth.
They're going to use a lot of bandwidth, but if they're on a commercial plan with us, even though my margins are pretty, we don't make much money on the bandwidth, that will add up. So, and then if you add the advertising, I don't know. Again, the business model I built with was to survive.
Right.
I didn't have VC.
Yeah. Well, it's also, Libsyn and Blueberry and Podbean and the other ones have built the model around the complete ecosystem, right? Small shows and big shows, right? We've got everything there.
Everything.
The fact that we have that kind of scale makes the model work. When you start playing at one end or the other end, it doesn't work as well.
But maybe they want to play on both ends with Megaphone.
Well, that in combination with Anchor, they kind of
could.
are.
They could,
right?
Yeah.
It's just that middle tier is where they're kind of missing. And
but if they're counting on advertising, though, to bring in the bulk of the revenue, I think they're going to have a big surprise.
Yeah.
Again, they got smart people. They haven't got to the size where they are. They haven't got to the size where they are to afford a $235 million check. I can't do that.
Well, Todd, it does say in this article, it says that Megaphone is only selling about 10% of their inventory. So that explains it right there. 10% of their inventory is all that they're selling. And part of what the opportunity is that Spotify is going to come in and sell 70% of it.
Rob.
So you can see that's a big shift.
Until someone runs some remnant BS advertising against shows.
Well, yeah, it doesn't say that they're going to sell for the same CPM to
Right.
reach 70%. Right?
And other people have tried that model. Even Voxnest has tried that model of selling a lot of.
Well, that's the programmatic sales, right?
Right.
You can sell a lot of shows in programmatic, when the content creator doesn't have a lot of control over the ads, and the ads themselves are more radio-like ads that are pre-produced by agencies, right? There's just not a lot of control. Now, granted, a lot of podcast hosts and podcast shows don't have a lot of time to manage advertising. They don't want to. They just want it to have it magically happen and they make money. So that's what we're juggling here is the ease and convenience. Spotify can get up to 70% because it's easy and convenient, right? And it's lower cost, so there's more advertisers that are willing to come in and take care of that ad inventory, where I believe Megaphone was trying to sell higher
The
CPM.
risk here is that if my sole income was on advertising right now, I would be freaked out because
I don't think you can really play successfully in this medium solely on an advertising model.
If the model was purely advertising, if I was a purely, I got out of that business, 10 years ago.
Right.
For a good reason.
Yeah.
Now, a combination is pretty doggone nice when you're not at risk.
Well, there's also another shiny little thing going on here, too, is ad targeting. Right? The advertisers are looking for ad targeting. And if a lot of the listeners are listening to shows that are hosted on a proprietary platform, it's easier to get buy-in, opt-in. There may be some things coming here soon that maybe that opt-in for tracking that makes podcasting legal work, but we shall see.
I think, too, where if I had the advertising only model and Spotify got this great sales arm, that you could have a lot of these media buyers just roll all their inventory right over to Spotify, and a lot of these other companies that are selling are going to be in trouble unless they can keep those relationships going. And
well, the issue that they have is selling targeted advertising into podcasts outside of their platform.
Well, they don't have that problem with Megaphone anymore.
Well,
they now
still have the issue outside of Spotify, though.
Well, Spotify's also got...
Until there's some tech added that enables listeners to opt in to being tracked.
Oh, now listen.
All the listening platforms.
Rob. Everybody has a Spotify account.
Oh, do they now?
Well, look at the U.S. penetration of Spotify, how big it is. Now,
that's 350 million globally.
Okay, but still, they have a great database. They have a beautiful database. So imagine, and remember, Spotify is not a U.S.-based company. Their headquarters is where? Sweden or someplace like that?
Yeah.
Finland, or maybe that's the same. Sweden. And they basically, they collect all this IP data from the United States. They're not burdened with GDPR in the United States. So they can take then now the Megaphone data and the Anchor data, all that IP data, and says, okay, I know Johnny who uses Overcast to get my content from Megaphone. I know that's Johnny.
Right.
And now, let's go ahead and target Johnny because I know who Johnny is because Johnny's got a Spotify account. Or the username, demographics, all that good stuff. Now, when Johnny uses Apple Podcast, this is where the play is. Where now they know because they have this national global registry of 350 million people, at least 350 million people, they can retarget right now.
Right. And that's an additional revenue stream if they sell those IP addresses.
Well, no, they don't have to sell them. They match them.
No, I know they're going to do it too, but if
Right.
they sell them externally, there's
Oh.
revenue made there
Yeah,
too.
that's right. So all of a sudden, privacy in podcasting is gone. What
Well-
what do I have loaded on here?
Todd, privacy was gone.
Oh,
all
okay,
along.
but
The
no,
only issue
for
was opt-in. Right?
So SOPT. Here's my Spotify. Tells you how long it's been since I used it. It's reinstalling. I have the Spotify app. I use Pandora mostly. So if I load Spotify in here and I play a couple of shows over that are on Megaphone with my Apple Podcast app, they have the cross data. Dun 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 dun. And the Anchor people, they've already know who all Anchor listeners are.
Right.
Because if they haven't been doing this, this is elementary stuff, Okay, so Spotify, it's loading right now. Do you want to send notifications? No, I don't want notifications. Let me go ahead and just play. Let me find one thing here. Chilled instrumental. Boom. I hit play. Okay, Todd likes instrumental. They just got a trigger from this phone, this IP. Now, what's a show over on Megaphone, Rob? What's one of the shows over there?
I believe that the New York Times hosts over
So, let me go in New York Times. Let me find a show, New York Times. Okay, here we go. The Daily's part of the New York Times, right? So,
I would imagine.
So let me go ahead and hit play on episode 12. No, let me look at here. The Unfinished Battle for the Senate. Let me hit play. And guess what? That IP was just logged at Megaphone. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
So,
Todd, what did you just go to Amazon to go look up as a product that you want?
Well, I know. I already know that. But I'm just telling you. This is where their advantage now lays.
Right.
And that's how it's already laid with Anchor already, is because if you have they know if because I don't listen to podcasts on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to podcasts on Overcast, and I listen to podcasts on Apple Podcast.
Right.
You know why I listen to podcasts on Overcast? Because I can still manually enter an RSS feed. You can't do that on Apple Podcasts anymore. If you can, someone tell me how to do it, because I can't find how to add a raw RSS feed to Apple Podcasts anymore.
Well, Todd, the podcast hosting platforms like ours are really the only ones that have kind of a complete set of IPs, right? Of people that are listening to podcasts of the catalogs that we have.
Sure.
Right. From all these various listening
That
platforms.
means your listeners are safe on Blueberry and Libsyn.
Because we're not sharing.
No, we're not.
Right. And believe me, it's a...
But no one cares, Rob. No one cares. No one cares. Just you and you. Just you and me. We're the only ones that care.
There's others that care.
Very few.
There's one fellow at my company that cares twice as much as even I do.
But Rob, he doesn't matter. He can have. We can. Here's the thing. We can have you and I can say we protect our listeners from here until eternity. But you know what? Do the podcasters care?
We're blowing into the wind, as they say, right? Yeah.
Actually, use the wrong term. because we're, so most people are going to say, so what? So what?
Right.
So what?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you're already being tracked everywhere else. Why is podcasting,
Yeah.
some exclusive terrain of non-trackage?
Hey, Robert, I turned Rob up a few minutes ago. Is he still low?
I'm trying to speak up, Todd, because I know that the variability is what it is.
No, it's because because I'm on new gear and I may have turned your voice down. So I'll turn it up just a little bit more.
Oh, is it low?
Yeah, they're saying it's low on the stream. So.
Oh, well. I think people are used to that, though, Todd.
Well, you're kind of quiet anyway.
I am?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to speak up now then, Todd. I mean, because my instruments over here show me peaking out.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
so, what news service is going to talk about us tomorrow? But it's, there's all kinds of ways to look at it. Congratulations. I never want to belittle anyone that gets paid, even though I think it's a bunch of investment people. I don't think there's any individual owners over there because they've already traded hands, I think, once before. So I think it's just corporate entities getting paid.
Well, it was started in a partnership with Slate.
Yeah.
And then Panoply and then Megaphone. And so, right. I think it's interesting. The question is, well, the acquisition train is clearly running. Who's next?
That is interesting.
In the same vein, right? I mean, Megaphone caters to a specific segment of the market.
Rob,
right?
there's not many left. You're going to have to start picking off the low-hanging fruit.
I know. Well, there's one other that's very similar to Megaphone out there.
Right.
That's still independent.
Yeah.
That has, I'll be nice about it. But, and I think we know who that is. That's probably next by somebody. I don't know who that would be, but be Art 19, of course. Right?
You know what I say to you guys? You guys can't say because you guys are a public company and you'd get in trouble with the SEC if you said anything at all. So I know you can't, but I will say that I get 3 to 5 calls a week. Especially when these buys happen, and all of a sudden everyone wants to talk to us. And I have, 82 NDAs out there. And now I think
it's well known in the industry that everybody talks to everybody. So
yeah. So, but these are people with lots of cash in their pockets, and the first thing I tell them, I says, if you don't respect my tech, then we don't even need to have a conversation.
Right.
Oh, he said, we love your tech. Well, what's your price? Well, we just had a couple of $100+ million acquisitions. So what do you think my price is? It's not 5 million. It's not 10. May not be 100.
Your price is too high because you're still independent.
It may not be. It may not be 100, but it's more than 10.
Right. Especially with 5,500 shows, right? Yeah.
With them having 5,500 shows, yeah, and that they don't own.
Right.
That they don't own. They're just customers.
Right.
So podcasts are like they chase shiny objects.
Right.
And maybe actually only 5,000 show, 4,500 when iHeart moves all their shows off.
Well, yeah, because was it 489?
489.
Our moving off of megaphones. That drops them down
Oh,
to 2,000.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's hilarious. It really is.
yeah. So,
All right, you talk for a second. They're still complaining. I've got to turn it up one other place. So I got to
right.
I got to go throw a knob. I'm going to put you on forward.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, and then, um, I appreciate James Cridlin because he does his newsletter and it's full of interesting details. He's actually hearing from a lot of people in the industry, but he posted also, and maybe everybody saw this, but um, Laura Mayer wrote about her experience of working for a company that was involved in consolidation, and I've experienced it too. Working at Spotify when we acquired Blog Talk Radio, and kind of what happens from these these acquisitions are not always smooth and easy processes for people that work at these companies. It creates a tumultuous experience around staffing and technology integration. We're working through, the tech team typically has to take on, a completely different code set, completely different technology stack. It really challenges the technology team to be able to really figure out how to integrate some of these platforms too, and that was one of the big challenges. And then staffing, obviously, some roles are duplicative between two different companies that typically get folded up into one person. So there's naturally a certain amount of attrition of people that leave the organization because of duplicated roles. And then there's just philosophical differences between managers that want to have their own people, and it depends on what the dominant organization is in the acquisition, how strong those teams are, and how hard that they push. So that's why you see a lot of founders of these platforms get pushed out, because they're leaders that threaten the power of the acquiring company. So it's always a challenge. So Todd, how did the adjustment work out of you?
Yes, I'm doing a balancing act here. So everyone's saying it's good now, but I just had to make a tweak so that you weren't blowing out the recording. So we should be okay.
Okay.
Happy balance
right.
here.
Okay.
So, I think that's something to be said too, Robin. By the way, if there's any Megaphone employees that are looking to move to another company, I'm sure we'd love to see your resume. Probably both of us would. So,
Sure.
especially if you're in the sales side, if you do the advertising bit.
Sales or marketing.
That's right. Yeah. So, send us your resumes.
Yeah. So.
And you made the point that there was something also in Pod News today. Talked about one gal. She says, "Well, I wasn't. Maybe that's what you were referring to. I wasn't."
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah. She left.
The bumpy road that often happens with these mergers.
Yeah, because there are going to be some people. It even happened quite publicly with when Voxnest took over Blog Talk Radio.
Right.
There was
that's what I was talking about. Right?
Yeah.
That there was some turnover that happened for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's but here's the thing too. Folks really, if you get absorbed and you get eliminated, be very, very careful about talking in generalities about your previous employer.
Yeah.
For me, that's a bit of a red flag. And
talk badly about your employer, right?
Or imply.
Right.
And you do that amongst friends.
Right.
But you don't do that on the web.
Right.
Because, I hate to say it, if your resume comes across my desk, I'm going to, you make it through the process. I'm probably going to be Googling you to see what in your prior job, reading your LinkedIn profile, And
Yeah, yeah, and I don't need to read from somebody. At least I'm just speaking for myself about their experience, their bad experiences in consolidation, because that's par with the
yeah,
course.
I want to know how your performance has been where you went to next place, or how your performance was before you left the
Right,
acquisition. What, and we understand there's redundancy, there's reduction in forces
right.
when you because of redundancy doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No, it just means
Mm-hmm.
that one side or another is a little stronger in the
Yeah.
acquisitions,
But if
typically.
you went through and talked badly about them,
Right.
well, or implied,
That doesn't help.
it doesn't help. Not at all.
So Todd, I saw that the podcast movement is going to be having a holiday party here in on December 9th.
We're
Did
at.
you? Well, of course, it's virtual.
Well, come on now. Let's get it together, podcast movement. It's time to. The virus is over. It's time to part. I'm just joking. Let's. Where virtually they're having a party, huh?
Yep. Yep. So it's coming up on I believe it's December 9th, I believe. I don't see it on their website though, but I definitely saw it in their newsletter.
Okay. It's amazing. It's already November 11th.
I know. Okay, here's the details. It says here Podcast Movement Holiday Virtual Meetup, December 9th. Go to, you can register for it.
Rob, I think I'm going to have to send you a case of Red Bull.
Why is that a boring
Huh?
topic?
Well, we understand it's been a long week. It's only Wednesday.
Right. That's right. We're running out of steam.
You think about this. It's already November. It's
I know.
almost Thanksgiving.
Well, that's right. The holidays are going to be
This
over.
whole
We're going to
ye-
be into
this
spring.
this whole year's total shit. It's true. My God. Hey, here's the thing. I'm 56. How old are you, Rob?
At the tail end of the 50s.
Okay. When you're 20, a year off your calendar really doesn't hurt you too bad. You're not thinking about it. When you're 20, it's a year. A
Right.
year of my life of being, just really kind of constrained. But when you're 56, that year really counts.
Well, every year from here counts.
Every year from here. So, my God, there's different perspectives on,
Yeah.
because our clock is ticking the wrong way.
Yeah, I think once you hit the 50 mark, your thought process changes.
Yeah,
a
just a little.
About your vision of time. Right.
And I like being alive, but I don't like this lost time.
Right.
But it's just like Shoko asked me the other day. She said, "Are you gonna be able to come home for Thanksgiving?" And I'm like, I have to get a COVID test 2 days before, and all these requirements to jump through to go to Hawaii. And
Right.
it's insane. And
there's a lot of travel bans going on right now too.
well,
As far as people, if they travel between different states.
Well, some
into
states,
quarantine.
yeah. No one's enforcing that. So,
Well, how are they going to enforce it?
right.
Really?
But they can enforce it in Hawaii because it's not like you can drive there, right? So,
That's true.
so they have, and they're being very serious about it. So, I don't want to go home for Thanksgiving and be at the house, go see the kids, and be locked up for
Right.
3 or 4
For 14
days.
days. Right.
Or whatever. Well, I'm not going to be there 14 days. You could just go for for 3, 4, 5 days. But do I want to spend that in the house? No.
Right.
So, and getting a COVID test, I guess I could get a COVID test and go, but it's just, I'm not very, hate to say it, I'm not very motivated.
Yeah. Todd, I saw an article that came out in in the mid-roll blog, I don't know if you saw this, about the contrast in performance between an announcer read ad in a podcast versus a host read ad, and it's almost double the lift.
Yeah, of course.
Brand lift. Yeah. So as you think about these deals that are going on with the streaming platforms, they tend to orient themselves mainly towards programmatic side
right.
buying. That's what the VoxNest platform does, and so it gets back to performance on the ad campaigns as a key metric here to think about in the value of some of these acquisitions and mergers and how these streaming platforms are integrating podcasting. Which way are they going to go? It can be a 100% difference between the brand lifts or the ROI on a announcer read ads and when I say announcer read ads, that's more like a radio ad versus a host that reads the ad itself. It can be double the performance. So which way is the industry going to go, Todd? It's probably going to be both, but I'm just saying, where's the emphasis going to continue as you look to the future?
Well, I got a survey request from somebody, AdsWiz, I think.
Yeah.
I think they're the ones that sent and why they sent it to me, I don't know. If they're listening, go find my survey result, and you may want to pull that one out because I'm definitely going to be an outlier. But it's true. I'm still a hardcore fan of host read, host endorsed native ads. I really am. So just because, and everything we see on programmatic side is low CPM. So
right, which drives the tension between this really is, I kind of see it. There's a little bit of an analogy to broadcast radio here. There's always been this concept, especially around national syndication, of national ads versus local ads, right? So that analogy can apply here as well. The national ads tend to be host reads that is baked into the content or dynamically inserted into the content. That's possible as well. And then the announcer reads, which tend to be more programmatic, radio-like ads, tend to be inserted, around those host reads. The bad part about that is that's increasing the commercial load, because you can make up for that difference in brand lift by frequency, right, on the announcer reads. So, the balance that the industry needs to think about is how many ads do we want in podcasts before we start eroding the medium, just like what happened with radio.
Yep.
And I believe that that's the tension that we're coming up on is.
Well, I see some shows with loads already that are incredible.
Right.
5 to 7 ads in a show.
Yeah, but the CPM is like, a third or a quarter of the host read CPMs. So you can see how that, if a person wants to make more money, they basically just run more programmatic ads.
And piss off their audience at the same time.
Yeah, and that puts it on probably at the same CPM level as one good host read.
And then they fast forward, the audience fast forwards through the ads. So,
right.
So yesterday, Apple had one more thing. And I know you don't use Apple products, but it was absolutely, unequivocally, the biggest slam on Intel, AMD, and Microsoft at the end of the presentation. Did you hear about the one more thing at the end?
No.
Oh my God. They were showing all the credits and then it kind of flipped. It was this dude. Very known well dude from some old ads. And I died. It was really pretty impressive. It took a punch at Microsoft, it took a punch at Intel, and took a punch at AMD. If you saw it, I hope you all got a big kick out of it. Rob, you'll have to find a clip somewhere on the internet to see it. It was really, really awesome. But I will say this: Apple, my goodness. They named their chip the M1.
Well, they have their own chip technology now, so they
Yeah,
don't need
yeah.
Intel or AMD or any of these guys, right?
Yeah, so now, they've got their whole the whole step, but to call it the M1 was it someone said, "Well, what should we call this chip?" Well, we're Apple A1, and we already use A12. We've got this type of, so let me think. We're going to put this in our computers. I know. We'll call it the M1. So even there, in my opinion, it was a dig. It was a dig on Microsoft saying na 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 na.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so there one more thing turned into like three more one things. But it's awful tempting to buy that new MacBook Pro, but I'm in a situation where I can use my Mac probably for another year.
Yeah.
And there will likely, anytime you mass roll out a new product like this with a new chip,
there's probably issues.
There might be issues. So I'm going to give it some time, let it breathe.
Right.
I know some people we know jumped right out and bought a new Mac Mini and some other stuff. They're talking about it today, but I'm going to hold on to my pennies, and because I need a lot of pennies to buy another MacBook Pro, a lot, truckload full.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get a Apple Watch here soon.
Oh, well, hey, that's progress.
Is it progress?
It is progress for you,
Okay. Okay. Well, I have a pretty new iPhone. It's just that was a piece that I needed, I think, to complete the full absorption.
And I will have to, boy, I'm going to have to confess I held out on Microsoft for many, 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 many years. And I had a Dell, pretty high-end Dell. I just kept having all kinds of issues with. And I know there's a lot of hardcore Microsoft folks still left, and I don't blame you. But since I've switched, maybe better knock on some wood here.
I want to hear from you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I had a problem.
And they still lock up. I mean, I had my iMac lock up this morning and had to, take the one finger, kill it to restart it mode. So they still lock up. But in the scheme of things, I must admit it's been a much more pleasurable existence. So I know you're so loyal to Microsoft, but it's eventually I'm going to get you on a Mac and we're going to get you converted over. But, I got a PC sitting right here, Windows PC. It still works. Guess it depends on what you're doing.
What really bugs me about Apple Macs is the fact that they have built-in obsolescence.
Okay, but that's true. So do laptops.
Yeah.
But
I mean, from a software perspective,
I know a guy that has a 2008 MacBook.
Right.
That he's had a battery placed in it in 2008. He's had the battery replaced. The battery doesn't charge no more. It still works.
Right.
By plugging it in.
All the time. Right.
It's plugged in, but still, it's 12 years old.
I know. Well, does it still support the latest operating system?
No. He's stuck at a point. And Rob.
Yeah.
Intel machines are the same way. I can't go any further with this one.
I guess there is a limit.
Yes, there is on all systems. Right. You get to a certain point.
But Microsoft did a concerted effort a few years ago to actually build the operating system lighter.
Well, I know that.
So it could continue to be run on less powerful machines. So I think the model is different, right? It's a software-centric model,
Yeah.
not a hardware-centric model, and that's what's difference between the Windows and the
The-
Mac,
the
as
mid-
far as I'm concerned now.
Probably 90% of Mac users need a Chromebook
Right.
because they're not doing heavy lifting. They're doing web-based stuff. The
Right.
way I use my computer now compared to 5 years ago is completely different. I used to run Outlook. I used to run all these extra applications. Now 90% of the time, unless I'm processing this show,
Well, you're doing a lot more video too.
I'm doing video, but I use the, I use the garbage can for that, so
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, so
And I'm starting to do a lot more video too. So I'm, my setup here is more for kind of live streaming
Right.
stuff, right? I'm not really. I got a little frustrated because I was asked to produce some pre-recorded videos here lately, and I realized the limitations of my setup for being able to do kind of scripted, recorded
right.
presentations and things like that, and it's just not set up right. So
are you getting yourself a teleprompter?
I'm thinking about it.
They're
And I'm
not-
also thinking about using my iPhone to create more videos.
It's
So-
a great platform to do videos.
Right. Right.
You just need
all
one
I
of
need
those
to have is
TikTok. You need
better-
one of those TikTok lights and a phone set in there, and you're good. Make sure you set it sideways so you get the 16:9.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I want to get the MV7 is that it has the ability to plug into the iPhone. So my current setup, I don't have any way to plug into a mobile device. So anyway.
I'd like to see that demoed. Have you seen that demoed where someone plugged MV7 straight into an iPhone?
I haven't actually seen it done. No, I haven't. But I'm just based on the adapters and that it's intended to be used that way. But yeah, I haven't seen anybody actually do it yet.
Why not a lav?
Well, I have a lav here too. I have to get an adapter for
Right.
that too. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work either because I've got an Audio Technica. It's a pretty high-end lav here that plugs into my mixer.
You can go to, oh my God, the name of the company. They sell kits.
I believe it has to have phantom power for it to work. So that's
they sell.
the other challenge.
You need an interface. There's a company that sells kits. Oh, I've got something in my bag that will work.
Right. I mean, it
So
would probably work with a cloud lifter maybe, but
yeah,
that's not ideal.
again, it's a lot of gear. But if you can take a mic and just plug it into the iPhone, that's
Well, that's exactly what
ka-ching.
I was thinking.
Yeah,
The MV7, right?
yeah.
But it's not the complete solution. I know that little microphone device that we ordered. I don't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head right now. I remember the one
Oh, the
that we both
Kickstarter. Yeah,
the Kickstarter one. That's supposed to get here when? Do you remember?
I don't know. It's not soon
something?
enough.
Right. Where it does a wireless transmission between your iPhone and
Right.
the little microphone that you attach to your shirt.
There's lots of solutions out there. The key is, and here's what I thought, and then and for all of you, research. Buy
Takes a lot
once,
of time. Yeah.
buy once, and then then make it work. Otherwise, you're going to end up with, like me, with a bag full of stuff.
Well, I still have a bag full of stuff. Even when I do the research, 'cause my needs change too. It isn't
Yeah,
so
that's
much
true.
That I have the wrong equipment.
You should have seen what I used to travel with. When I used to live stream the show when I was in the Navy and I would go somewhere, I had a 4U rolling case. And for those of you that don't know what that is, like when it was full of gear, it barely checked as checked luggage. And then I had to strap the heck out of it so that the lids wouldn't get popped off. And I still had to replace the box about once a year because it got beat up. But inside there was a Wi-Fi device. There was all this stuff to do a 2-camera shoot, which I normally end up doing 1 camera and never using the second camera. It was so dumb. It was so dumb that I did that, where I could have done it with I over-engineered it. So you don't need to over-engineer this stuff. Yeah, it was beautiful. It looked great. It sounded great, but did it need to be that good?
Yeah, is that one that you created? Was that box that
Yeah,
had equipment built into it,
right.
and but at some point it got shipped too many times and got damaged?
Yeah, it got beat up and come off the thing, and the lid was missing, and oh my
Right,
god,
right.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
$2,000 worth of electronics just exposed to the world to get smashed. Oh yeah, so it
yeah,
it's in my closet right over here.
yeah.
It's right over here. It's still built.
Gathering dust.
Gathering dust. About 5 years from now, I'll put it for a yard sale or something. Get $10 for it. So.
Yeah.
Oh. But for those of you that didn't see the Apple event, oh, is it showing? Oh, what's up with that? Huh. Oh, something shut off. Oh, that's not good.
What
Yeah.
happened?
No, nothing. I was going to sneak in the welcome to the future of Mac screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
what,
I was trying to be slick. Oh, there you go.
Throw it up on the screen here.
Of course you can't see it because you can only see me. I've got you wired different now.
Well, thanks, Todd.
What's kind of funny there is I could.
That's going to drive me to go watch the live.
That's right, because I can sneak in all kinds of advertising and.
Right. Wow.
So anyway, it's that's something I got to get. See, you got to start catching me on that because I've said so anyway about 25 times today.
Yeah, that's true, Todd. Yeah, I say that a lot too. That's true, Todd.
And we have to cross check each other, but I see there it goes. Apparently, iHeart says podcasting is profitable. Their revenue grew 74% year on year. Doesn't exclude the amount of money they spent to acquire all that. They had to have made money. They had to have increased it because they bought a bunch of stuff that brought in revenue. How did it not increase revenue? That's the thing that cracks me up about these posts.
Right. Well, I don't think they have as many creditors now either, Todd.
Oh, that's true. That's true. About $4 billion worth less.
Right.
Yeah. So wasn't that amazing how, I wish I could figure out a way. Of course, I don't have no debt. My company has no debt, but I need to figure out a way to borrow like $5 billion and then tell the banks, go to pack sand. And I'm going to give you $1 billion of that $5 billion back.
Right. So,
go ahead.
Todd, I also saw in here, in one of the newsletters here, it says the open source Android podcast app, the AntennaPod app, now has the podcast index catalog.
Pocket Cast, I think, also does now.
Well, no, Podcast Addict.
Oh, Podcast Addict. Okay.
Right. Has it built in. So he's starting to work with these smaller apps to try and get probably those new tags that he's working on supported as well, I'm sure.
I went into I just caught that they were having there's only 30 people that were in this presentation, but it talked about the micropayments and tying into Bitcoin. And I mean, they talk way over my head in much of it because it was all devs talking. But essentially now they have got it set up so that podcasters that have implemented this, as you listen, the listener makes a contribution to the pile, whatever it may be. It's like a pooled bunch of money. And then a percentage goes to Podcast Index, a percentage goes into the app developer, and then the large percentage of it goes back to the podcaster.
So did they contributing fractional Bitcoin, or are they contributing
fractional
cash that's then being transacted?
You earn fractional Bitcoin.
You earn fractional Bitcoin.
And I don't know if it's actually, if they're using Bitcoin as the token, or if they're using a different, again, I was way over my head. This is easy. I'm like, okay, I guess if you get educated, but they're moving at lightning speed. They're trying to figure out, and Adam is true to his word. He's trying to figure out how, number one, to support the app developers, because the only way this is going to advance is that the app developers say, we can make some potential revenue here by supporting this. Brilliant, number one. And then number two, when the podcasters learn that they can earn money by people listening to their shows and buy into this ecosphere, then our podcasters are going to be breathing down our necks to get this implemented.
Yeah.
And Adam says, I don't want to do nothing to disrupt any of the businesses. I'm here just to implement the technology, be the thought leader, and they're going to take 1% to fund Podcast Index and those initiatives. And you think about that, well, 1% of $1 million, or whatever it may end up being, they're going to do okay over there, and at the same time, potentially help podcasters. So, again, it's really pretty much over my head, but there's going to be change coming because of what they're doing, and it's not going to affect. It's not even anything that's going to affect Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. It has nothing to do with them at all.
Right.
Until I'm on my show saying, please use this app and only this app to listen to this show. Because when you listen to this show on this app, I get paid. And then those apps to support that will start the list. If I'm going to get paid, Rob, let's be honest, if it's Podcast Addict that's going to support this monetization piece, and I'm not saying that they are, but if they do, and you can get micropayments, I'm going to tell my entire audience, go listen to Podcast Addict. Because what if I get $10 a month or 20 because of the people? I'm not going to promote Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or any of these other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send my audience to those apps that's going to support me. So this is how, that's.
Well, this is where a new tag in the RSS can really benefit the industry.
Yep.
And that way of donation can be funneled out to a lot of different listening platforms potentially. Right. So I guess it just gets back to, is there a revenue share split with that kind of relationship too?
Yeah. So it's, and again, they're trying to make sure that's all equitable. And like Adam said, I'm running this thing on a Raspberry Pi here in my office. I'm just like, okay. And your average podcaster is probably like, what is a Raspberry Pi?
Right.
And it's not something you eat, ladies and gentlemen.
It'd be a little chewy. Yeah.
But it's an opportunity for someone to come up with some, with a package, here's, for $150, we're going to send you a pre-built Raspberry Pi with your token and everything you needed to make money from your podcast. And, here's your 5 steps you have to do to get this implemented and what you have to put in your RSS feed. The key.
It's like a Roku that connects to the internet. Right?
Exactly. Everything, though, really, truly hinges around those like us that basically have RSS feeds for our podcasters, for PowerPress and everything else. So, I said my input to that was, this is an opportunity for some plugin writers to write plugins, not only for PowerPress, but for other platforms, so that they can podcasters can add this on and make it easy for them. The key is, again, I tried to explain, we have to make it easy as possible for widest adoption. It's got to be as easy as signing up for a Twitter account, really.
Mm-hmm.
And, but they're working hard on trying to figure this out, and I think they're going to make it happen. I really, really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. It's good. It's putting out examples out there of doing some improvements and trying some innovation. That's what this industry is always looking for. I I'm hopeful that the podcast Hall of Fame is going to come back.
Well, okay.
Mhm.
Have you
Next-
talked to Dan and company?
Next year. Yeah.
Are they going to do it in conjunction with the Academy or what?
No.
Okay.
It's not going to have anything to do with the Academy.
All right.
The Podcast Academy. It's not going to have anything to do with Podcast Academy. It's going to be Podcast Movement, which is where it started. That's where it needs to be, I think.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, and I still am an advocate for trying to pull together a trade organization for this industry too. So that actually is a trade organization that represents the whole industry. So that's, yeah.
So,
But I'm not going to be the one that does it all though. I don't want to be in that role. So I want to contribute to it.
yeah. I
think there's a pathway that
yeah.
I'm working on.
So another thing they're working on over there at the Index is called the soundbite tag.
Mm-hmm.
And all of you listen to this, you're like, soundbite. It's basically a soundbite. Just a sample of your show for an episode.
So that could be plucked from any part of your episode? Is that the idea?
It's an RSS. It's part of the. It's just a new tag that goes into. And again, the spec is over at podcastindex.com. You go look at the spec.
Right.
It's based.
Does it have some time codes in there?
I'm looking at the.
So you can specify from this point to this point.
Yeah, I'm looking at the metadata right now. Here, give me a second.
Or is it a separate audio?
I think it's
file?
it's.
So the podcaster would have to take a snippet out of their audio and upload it as a separate.
I don't know.
File, probably.
I'm going to have to go and look, Rob, at how the implementation is. I'm not educated enough on exactly what the spec is to make it happen. Hopefully it just takes a segment of your existing content and allows that to be played via time hack, so you don't have to, quote unquote, create a separate file. Let me go. Is the spec here? No, that's just the API call.
Because that's essentially what the headliner.
It's called Visual Soundbite. Oh, here it is.
Is that like a headliner?
So no. So here's the tag is how it reads. So there's those of you that are not technical, it's bracket podcast soundbite start time equals, and then it gives a second, like 123 seconds in. Duration equals.
It's got a millisecond time codes that will trigger the playback.
Yeah. Duration
into the content. Right.
Duration 30 seconds, and then title of the soundbite, and then close bracket / podcast soundbite close bracket. And it basically just it's a code that jumps your player on your website or potentially in an app that supports it to be able to hear that specific soundbite.
Does it have the option to be able to upload a separate audio file?
Nope, no? It's purely a tag. It grabs it out of the current. It basically triggers the player to where to go in the enclosure. It's kind of similar to a chapter, but it's only designed to give you a jump to a certain point. Now they do have chapters.
Like a jump link on a website.
Yeah. So as an example, but here's the difference. I'll load my personal website up and go find an episode that has been posted, because my editor does this in post. Let me go to this one here, 1484. So on my site, see, can I do this? Each of my talking points is time hacked. So this only works on the website. So I go down here to where it says 1250, your Amazon Prime videos. Let me go ahead and click it. Then if everything's working right, Oh, please. I can't talk to you right now. Let me try a different one. Why is that not working? I may have something broke. Anyway, it's supposed to jump to 12 minutes and 50 seconds. and have the player start playing. The difference in a soundbite is, oh, Rob, you're gone. Oh, I know what happened. My phone rang and the Mac tried to answer. Let me turn in case they call back.
So is that action in the RSS feed, is that a little bit, does it cause an issue depending on what the player is?
I think you have to have a player that supports it, and you probably have, just like us, our player has to support it, but it's more designed for app developers to be able to allow people to jump to a soundbite in the app, right, not just the web, because that would be dumb.
Would they have to add like a play sample button or something like that in the
something
interface?
Yeah, there have to be dev put towards this. Again, it's something that it's not, you just can't put it in your site and it's going to work. You have to have a site that actually truly supports it.
Right.
So I may have to send a bug report in. Let me look at this. Oh, it worked on that one. Must be he just had a malformed tag. Let me bring this back up and click one of these. See, it jumps it to 2940, jumps it back. I can jump all over. In the show, I can jump it to different spots. But it just keeps on playing on mine. It doesn't just play 30 seconds. It just will continue to play from that point forward.
Right.
It won't do 30 seconds and stop. So this is the kind of stuff. And again, maybe it's useful to someone, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, but again, the way they're structuring everything is incentivize the app developers to put it in their app, make it something that's wanted, make the podcasters. We had requests coming in today from our podcasters. Hey, where's this? How come you guys don't have the transcript tag yet?
Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh. So we're already getting hit up, and we've committed to putting it in, but it's everything moves at glacial speeds on a dev site. So.
Right. So is Adam socializing these tags publicly?
Yeah, it's all that stuff is open discussion. They're getting, matter of fact, it's getting ready to close for comment for phase 1. They've been at it for a while, and they want people to participate. And
right.
Yep.
Well, that's good.
Yep. We're almost at the end here.
Yeah, we are. 3 minutes to go. Yeah, I saw that there was an article in here that was linked to from Stephen Goldstein, I guess, had a little chat with Tom Webster about smart speaker adoption for listening to audio and podcasting. So I guess the research spring 2020 showed a 4% increase in the use of smart speakers to listen to audio. So it went from 19% to 23%. So the analogy is we should be seeing a growth in podcast listening.
Right.
Because of that. So, 4% is not
4%
massive growth, but it's growth.
Okay, 4% growth on 1% or less than 1% of market share? It's not at 4%. Smart home devices are not at 4% global market share.
Right. It's not talking about market share. This is a breakdown of how do you, it was a survey question asked, how do you listen to audio most often?
Okay.
It compares spring of 2019 to spring of 2020 and how that's changed because of the pandemic.
Okay.
And it
makes sense.
Appears that the listening to audio on smartphones and tablets decreased 6% going from spring 2019 to spring 2020. But it increased on smart speakers by 4%. So
I don't think we should be surprised with that jump.
Yeah, because people are at home more, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise. And people are, it says here, there was a 2% increase in listening to AM/FM radio going from spring 2019 to spring 2020.
There was a decrease or increase?
Increase.
Okay.
I know. That's weird. But keep in mind, I think spring 2019 obviously was before the pandemic,
Right.
and spring 2020 was kind of during the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Hmm.
So, yeah, interesting though.
Well, anyway, I think we've struggled through another show.
Yeah, and then the deployment of Amazon podcasts, right, is only going to help, I would think, with the smart speakers.
Yeah.
So we shall see, though.
Yes, we should.
Yep. So I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Everyone, thanks for being here. Make sure if you're not subscribed to the show, newmediashow.com, get subscribed to the podcast on your favorite podcatcher. We would prefer you to be everywhere but Spotify. Just kidding.
Oh, and we did get some feedback on our discussions about music.
Yeah.
Last Saturday. So
maybe we're out of time. Maybe we should remember to talk about that on Saturday.
Maybe I should bring on the guy from PEX to talk about it.
If he wants to come on.
At some point. Right.
All right. So I'm Todd at Blueberry.com. At Geek News is my Twitter address. Rob?
I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee. And you can send me an email if you want, robg@lipson.com.
And I know you guys are leaving like flies on the live stream, but thanks for being here. Thanks for checking in and saying hi. Dan, Robert, and the rest of the team that were on there, and the folks over on YouTube as well. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And I was checking sorry didn't respond, Haas, to your low audio thing, but I was getting it on both ends, so we fixed it for Rob. But everyone...
Thank you, Todd.
It's me tinkering again. Everybody, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on the New Me Show. Take care.
Bye.